Thank you. We could have roll call, please.
Commissioner Grabowski.
Here.
Commissioner Jelassic. Here. Commissioner Bell.
Here.
Commissioner Liebert.
Here.
And Trustee Rhodey.
Here. Tonight we have two, first of all, Village President Knutson is ill and was not able to make the meeting tonight. So we go to the public hearings. The first item in the public hearing is the conditional use grant request of applicant Lazar Conda, doing business as Drita's Deli LLC to develop a restaurant. Restaurant use is only permissible through the issuance of a conditional use grant. This request is located at 115 Main Street, is zoned B2, Downtown Business District. Property owner is Tellefson Enterprises LLC. Applicant is Lazar Conda, doing business as Drita's Deli LLC. After receipt of any comments, the public hearing will be adjourned for a continued hearing at the September 11th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. Is there anybody that would like to speak on this subject? Okay, with that, there is no one that wants to speak. I close that public hearing on that item then and go to item number B, conditional use grant request of applicant Jill Felch to construct a 574 square foot attached garage. The accessory structure is proposed at 29.8 feet from Burroughs Drive setback, which is permissible only through the issuance of a conditional use grant on a legal non-conforming lot. This 0.29 acre parcel located at 360 Evergreen Lane is zoned R5 residential, detached district. Property owner applicant is Jill Felch. Would anybody like to speak on that? Yes, please. If you could, yes, up to the podium and speak your name and your address, please.
Sure. This is Jill Felch, and I live at 360 Evergreen Lane in Pewaukee in the village.
Okay, good. You can go ahead and.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't super ready for this, so I'm a little bit nervous. So
It's all right.
Here we are.
Hey,
We're
we're
all
good.
just friends who love the village, right?
That's right.
Okay, so I purchased the home in the village about 3 years ago. Super excited to be living there, except we found one kind of a shortfall with the structure as it stands. It's all the 1934 original structure. There's been no additions put on since then. The foundation's the same, and the garage is the same. And so the garage, as you can see in the lower left, the lower left photo, it's the original garage, and it was literally the smallest garage door that was a standard size that they make. And the woman said, we're gonna have to special order that because nobody has those anymore. And so it's just very small. I have a very small, a Mazda car. I can literally barely go through. I have a daughter who's a teen driver who literally, we don't trust her to put anything in the garage. There's like a 3-inch clearance. When I'm in the garage, I literally can't open the door, so I can open it about halfway. So it's just, we don't use it so much for protection of vehicles. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, a very small garage. We're just looking at getting more garage space. And so I'm hoping to add just a standard build. I believe it's a 24 by 24, sorry, my builder is here behind me, 24 by 24 garage, and that just bumps us out to that 29, our request is for a 29.2 addition that would allow for that garage space. And basically the build is just a continuation of the ranch rectangle that it is. If you've ever been on the village streets, those little side streets like our Burroughs Drive, every single person on that road has secondary structures or their primary structures that are closer. I know our goal, I think the spirit of non-conforming things is if we have something non-conforming on our lot, which is our driveway, which is barely 3 feet from the lot line, not complying with current code, it allows us as old house owners to, come here in front of you guys to make improvements on these older homes that are weird. And the goal, I think the spirit of it is to not make it like more non-conforming, right? Like not to make it look weird, not to make it look ugly, not to make it look out of place. So on our back of our house, the weird thing about our house is we're on a road that's like a horseshoe, and I'm the second one in on the end of the horseshoe. And so our lot, our driveway goes from one road to the other, and both are considered fronts of the home. And so both need that 35-foot setback instead of the standard 25-foot setback in the back. There's a number of us, a couple of us, there's only 4 on the street, you know, that are impacted by that, maybe 5. But that's the situation. And so there's tons of, so if you can see, like where the pointer is my home. Next to us, we have 2 pools, both that have fences. We have fences coming up Burrow Drive. The two structures directly across from my lot are like secondary structures. They're both garages that are literally 3 feet off the lot line. The house in the corner, like kitty corner from my home, bottom left, that is one single structure, and they're only about 15 feet, maybe 20 off the lot line. So I'm just hoping that our ask isn't something that is viewed as like extremely like out of the box, that other people aren't, you know, I don't know, that's gonna be objectionable in any way. We're just trying to get like more usable garage space that's more appropriate for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in this day and age. Is there anything else I could provide up front?
Did great.
Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay.
Is there any other comments on that public hearing item? Okay, with that, I close the public hearing on item B, and we move on to citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with commission members on any topics they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the commission is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the commission. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers are asked to use the podium, state their name and address. Is there anybody that would like to speak?
Yes, sir.
And again, state your name and address.
I'm Catherine Cementek, I'm grandmother, because their children who I'm advocating for, mom just got called into work and dad's a police officer, so he's working. Address is 434 Park Avenue. And while we are aware that there is a ruling for up to 4 chickens in Pewaukee, it requires a particular lot size. We're asking for a bit of a variance, as there's a unique lot. Their lot is up on the hill and the back of it. They were going to split the purchase of, there's a woods behind it with the back neighbor. However, the back neighbor said no, he'd purchase it. But there's an additional footage back there, which is all wooded area. And with that being said, there's an isolated corner where they could put the chickens where it would not be bothersome to anyone and most likely not even in view. And because of that different, unique parcel, we're just kind of asking if they can have chickens, the 4 chickens, and they're gonna speak to you about their chickens. Especially since the, 4-H clubs and Boy Scouts kind of require that. Gotta make it quick. They drew you a picture. Want to think about chickens? Well, their promise to me was that they'll take very good care of the chickens. Dad says if they don't take good care of the chickens, he'll arrest the chickens. So being with that is all said, they have agreed to take extremely good care of their chickens and not be bothersome to anyone. If by chance the chickens are ever bothersome, they would find a wonderful home for them. They would like to raise the chickens and the eggs and just kind of get involved in that situation, if that would be permissible from the committee.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other citizen comments? Okay, with that, then we'll move to item number 4, approval of the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to review those meeting minutes? Can I have a motion then?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second, Belt.
We have a motion with a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No one? Thank you. We have no old business tonight. We move on to new business, item number 6, review, discussion, and possible action on conditional use grant request of applicant Jill Felch to construct the 574 square foot attached garage. The accessory structure is proposed at 29.8 feet from the Burroughs Drive setback, which is permissible only through the issuance of a conditional use grant on a legal non-conforming lot. This .29 acre parcel located at 360 Evergreen Lane is zoned R5 residential, detached district. Property owner applicant is Jill Felch. With that, I guess I would hand it off to our planner.
Thank you. I am not Mark Lyons tonight, I'm Ben Cohost. Mark is absent tonight, I'm stepping in for him. Good to see somebody again, I've been here before. So yeah, tonight, we're here tonight because this is a legal non-conforming lot. And because of that, they are eligible to seek a conditional use for a setback reduction within the B5 district as afforded by section 40.209 subsection B. It's a rather unique clause, but it does require this action of the Plan Commission to first review and take action. So the 29.28 feet is what is being asked, which is less than the 35 feet. First, you have to find if you think that's appropriate. So they have submitted a plan, and so they have noted too that the existing one-car garage is not sufficient for modern vehicle sizes, is what they have submitted. And so the request to be allowed to construct the addition to allow a two-stall attached garage that are typical by today's standards. And it's in line with the surrounding area, is their case with across the street, also along the common roadway there. So with that being said, should the Planning Commission be inclined to approve of a conditional use grant request, there are 9 conditions of approval that are suggested by the village staff in tonight's staff supplement. Would you like me to cover those or walk you through those? Or if there's any other questions prior to me going into any of those details, feel free to ask.
Does the commission want him to cover those 9 items?
I think I'm good.
I'm good.
No. Okay. Any other comments from commissioners?
First of all, it's kind of unfair that she's got the 35-foot setback on both sides. I'm on an alley and, what was that? Ah! I own a property in an alley and I'm only judged for the 10 feet on the back. Secondly, all the lots here in the village are non-conforming. Those are some beautiful limestone homes, and the design is well within, keeping with the spirit of the area there. And I just want to also commend the applicant on the amount of effort that they put forward into submissions to us. It's way more than most people ever do. So clearly they have done their homework, and yeah, it's I have absolutely no issues with this.
Any other comments?
And what's the increase, like what's the setback, where are they at now?
29.28.
29.28 is what they are.
Where they're at now.
Yeah.
So it's 29.28 plus 24, so, what is that? Well, looks like 37.5 to the closest existing deck.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to,
37.5 is the current closest point to the deck.
that's what I was trying to figure out, what that increase is gonna be. It's like 7, 8 feet. Okay. So that's up.
Any other comments? I will say that the improvements in the structure and the aesthetics and everything, it's a very nice improvement. And it'll be, I'm sure, welcome in the neighborhood. So with that, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that the Village of Pewaukee Plan Commission approve the conditional use grant request by Jill Felch for the property located at 360 Evergreen Lane, subject to all of the conditions presented by staff in the materials.
You have a motion, do I have a second?
Grabowski seconds.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
No.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No one? Congratulations. Yep. You're welcome.
Good luck.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a review, discussion, possible action on the appeal of the denial of a chicken keeping permit located at 434 Park Avenue. This .15 acre parcel located at 434 Park Avenue is zoned R5 Residential Detached District. The property owner applicant is Corey Fonz. Okay, any comments from the planner or from the village administrator?
I can jump in here, Ben. Yeah, I prepared the memo for this item on the agenda tonight. Village staff received an application for a chicken permit from property owner Corey Fonz at 434 Park Avenue. And municipal code is very clear that all of the criteria need to be satisfied for a chicken permit to be issued. The code requires a minimum parcel size of 0.25 acres, and 434 Park Avenue was 0.155. So code required that I deny the permit, but code also offers an opportunity to appeal that denial, and it specifically comes back to this body. Unfortunately, there's nothing else in code to really guide this body in terms of criteria for consideration. So it's really the will of this group of what you want to do. From the staff perspective, I don't have any reason to object to it. Even with the small lot size, the proposed location of the chicken coop, they still meet all the setback requirements set in code.
Any comments from the commission?
There was, I mean, so with this is the first time an appeal has been heard, is my understanding on this subject, so. Okay. So this will be more or less, I mean, I know it's not official precedence, but it will more or less kind of set the precedence in our guiding forward, I guess, if we hear more of these appeals. I'll state from my position, if all adjacent neighbors approve this, then I only got one letter, but if all adjacent neighbors approve it, I would say that's more than happy to do that, and that could hopefully be a happy medium for as we go forward. I mean, because I would love to give these kids chickens right now, but knowing what could come down, the next one that comes in front of us, that might be where we get, it kind of gets us into a slippery slope. But if, I think if we can get all adjacent neighbors, which would be 2 more on here, to approve, then I'd have no issue.
Additional comments?
If I can, Mr. Chairman, I don't have an issue with it. I think, again, as was stated with the previous applicant for the garage, I mean, our village is older and a lot of the lots are just smaller and different sizes. Though the fact, that even though they don't meet the minimum 0.25, is that correct? They do meet the setbacks. They did get the letter of support from the neighbor, which I think, like the other commissioner, I do like that there is support. I did have a question for staff. With sometimes when there's applications like this, like properties within so many 100 feet are supposed to get like a letter. Did the property owners get a letter from the village?
No,
Similar
no.
to other, no?
No, so that sort of requirement comes with with a public hearing.
Okay.
When there's a public hearing on an agenda, we're required to send out letters to individual property owners within a certain radius.
Okay.
But not for chicken permits.
I'd be okay approving this tonight. I think, though, with it being the first appeal under this municipal code for this chapter 2710 sub M, maybe we could make a recommendation to our trustees to maybe, this, I don't know if this could be put in a code that maybe when there is an appeal process for this, that, the neighbors are alerted, similar to the public hearing, maybe not making it a public hearing, but just notifying them. But I would be in favor of it. I have neighbors who have chickens in the village. I'm not the biggest fan, my wife is, but again, to each their own. I strongly believe in personal rights of property, and we're sort of in that suburban, rural, so I don't mind it as much. We're not as urban as maybe like a Waukesha or Milwaukee, but I don't see any problem with it.
Additional comments?
Matt, can you clarify if I'm reading it correct? This property meets all the setback and every requirement minus that, just the acreage.
Correct. That's correct.
So where he's putting it, essentially, is he meets all the setbacks.
Yes, that's correct.
We have a 1/4 acre requirement, but the setbacks could literally put it right on, within 10 feet of property line then, huh? So even if you had like a 1/2 acre, you could put it 10 feet from your neighbor's property line.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Yep, yep.
50 feet from the actual building.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Yeah. So it's close to the lot line, but the closest adjacent building, the closest building or residence is outside that 50 feet.
So are we on this, we're 50 feet from all buildings, right?
Correct.
So what's sorry.
Except for the property owner himself. I mean, I don't think that's 50 feet. I think that's,
To the actual house is probably pretty close.
Okay, additional.
well, it's a minimum of 5 feet from the principal residence of the property having the coop. So we only require it to be 5 feet away from
That can be really close.
yeah. And it's proposed to be about 30 to 35 feet away. And in excess of 50 to the neighbors.
Even that's 50 feet to the deck.
My question was more logistics. If we do ask them to get letters from the other neighbors, can we approve it as long as they give them to you, or will it have to come back here?
If the commission is inclined to go that route, I would defer it to a future meeting to allow them to receive those additional letters. I wouldn't make it contingent on staff receiving those.
Okay.
The additional thing I'd like to mention is I think the original permit was given to my neighbor for chickens. And quite honestly, those chickens have less of an impact as far as noise and smell than 2 dogs are. There just isn't. We had no issue with it at all. So I also would support allowing this to take place.
Do you see any issues, Matt, with
Like approving it tonight and like letting it.
with precedents, and I know that there's always,
Yeah, I mean,
you always gotta be careful with some of this, how the state reacts to some of this.
From a legal perspective, you're fine. Like Matt said, there is no direction in the code as to criteria that this body is to consider, or really what action they're supposed to take on an appeal. Is it just to correct errors? Is it to grant a variance? It's silent. You could take a position that, really, as Matt said, it's the will of this body. But with that broad authority, Commissioner Grabowski is absolutely right. If you're granting an appeal this evening, you're essentially granting an appeal which waives the minimum lot requirements. And really the reason being is they meet all the other requirements. So if you're faced with an application in the future that's exactly on the same facts as what we have here tonight, you're kind of binding yourself. And now we take everything case by case, but you are setting a precedent that could be considered binding where you have to approve that in the future.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one way to go about it. Another way is to, this body is where the changes to the zoning code start. So, you don't have to necessarily deny the permit tonight and then look at a code revamp, but maybe use this process to initiate some changes to the appeal process or even the minimum lot size requirement.
Right, because essentially, you're probably gonna have I would suspect you're gonna have a really hard time finding another really small lot where they can be 50 feet away and 5 feet off, where they met all the other requirements just because of where this is.
Sure.
Where it's located, that, maybe that is a discussion lot size even necessary? If they're meeting all these other other features, maybe the ordinance is too stringent, if you will, and maybe broaden that in, that they don't have to come to us.
It was written with good intention, but it may be,
So was
may
the-
require some
So was the
tweaking.
sign ordinance.
Yeah.
That was written with good
Yeah.
intention, we gotta change that.
maybe it needs
Too soon.
some tweaking as we go, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're inclined to approve it, I think you're fine doing that, but maybe take a two-track approach. Don't just approve it and then leave the code as is. If really the intention is, we're gonna approve like applications in the future like this, maybe the problem is the lot size requirement is too stringent.
Right.
Is it a maximum of 4 chickens? Because, you know, the county is much, you guys are much more stringent, or less stringent, because the county's 4 chickens for an acre. And so we are, you know, anyway. So I just want to make sure they can't just all of a sudden have 10 chickens or 20 chickens. They can only have 4 chickens.
And it is 4 hens, no roosters.
Correct. But you don't know that until
Yeah.
you get them in there. I mean,
Chicks all look the same.
yes.
For the attorney, do you need a just simple majority of the current body present, or do you need 4, do you need to have?
The village ordinance requires any action of the plan commission be approved by a majority of the entire commission, so a minimum of 4 votes.
4, okay.
If we state, we can't read anything in the record though, either to approve or not, right? You can't state because due to the fact that this is more than 50 feet from any primary domicile or something, we'll approve it. Does that even matter going forward, or?
Well, I think you made a record that
Yeah.
really, if this is inclined to be approved, the reason being is they meet all the other requirements other than the lot size
Okay.
minimum. I think that record's been pretty clear. I think the administrator put that in, I think the commission, really, the consensus is you're okay with it because it meets all the other requirements. It's not going to be located in a place where it's going to be impacting neighbors based on its location. I think their record has been
Okay.
pretty clear.
Okay. We beat that.
But I'm just saying, if somebody comes with a very similar application in the future, you approve something tonight, that's fine, but just where it's.
Well, I'm not gonna be the one holding it up, so if there's enough of a majority, I'll, I'll go with you guys here, so I'm not gonna be the one to hold it up. So, being that it does meet everything else but the lot size.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the, what do we call it, chicken, wasn't it chicken?
Chicken permit.
The chicken keeping permit for the 434 Park Avenue based on Matt's description of the property and the fact that the ordinance, that the property owner meets all requirements of setbacks minus the minimum requirement of square footage.
Do we have a second?
Liebert, a second.
Okay, we have a motion with a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nobody opposed. It's been adopted. Good.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on to item number C, review, discussion, and consultative feedback to applicant Pewaukee Self-Storage LLC regarding a concept to amend the previously approved PUD for climate control storage at 227 Sussex Street. The proposed development would be part of this 16.1 acre B5 light industrial district with a planned unit development overlay owned by Pewaukee Self-Storage LLC.
So I'll introduce this. These are the applicants. I understand there's 2 applicants here tonight to speak if you have additional questions. This is a planning and development that was approved in the village in 2022 via ordinance 2022-04. This was to establish a personal storage development. You can see the site plan I'm presenting up that's associated with that. It's limited, the allowed use on the property to cold dry personal indoor storage uses and prohibited any outdoor storage. So I think the applicants are here tonight to ask us on a conceptual level if you'd be okay with their plans for tonight. They're given two alternatives, it looks like, and feel free to chime in if I get it incorrect. You did submit something dated July 18, which talks about you want a climate-controlled drive-up storage facility. Future expansion calls for dry drive-up storage, allow climate-controlled storage, which, you know, it's different than the cold storage that's presented, and also to consider both RV and exterior storage. Looks like on the southeast corner of the lot.
Same location as the approved storage over there.
Okay. So again, outdoor storage, it looks like they're requesting until climate-based business has to expand to the 3 building design that is requested above to include the climate control. So in other words, kind of a 2-step process.
Yeah.
Outdoor storage for now, and then with the hope of constructing the climate-controlled storage units. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So I think they're here for some consultative feedback on how you would feel on that. No formal action is requested, nor is it required tonight, but I think they're inclined before they make an application to see how you feel about amending the plan unit development, which would go through the procedural process of that.
And to be clear, the second part was approved in the original. Okay. But for cold storage.
Correct, that's the term used, and if it's climate controlled, technically it's not cold storage.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments?
We want to let the,
So with the original build was the 5 buildings that are there currently, and then those bottom 3 were originally in the plan.
That's parking, so there's another drawing that shows the approved. Yeah, that's the approved, already PUD approved expansion. for
Okay.
you guys.
But that was original back in 2022.
Yeah, correct.
The original approval was for all 8 buildings.
Correct.
And then
With the phase 1, phase 2.
Okay.
And those 5 buildings, north are already
Correct. Yeah. I was on the commission when we approved it. I didn't remember that it was a 2-phase. I thought all 8 buildings were being built. Maybe
Yeah.
too long ago. Okay.
And that's the parking, if we went to a parking versus.
Correct.
You can, we're happy to talk about why we think this makes sense, if you'd like us to.
I'm happy here.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Up here? Yep.
Yeah, please. And again,
Identify
name and
yourself.
address.
Thank you. Patrick McGill, 7401 Sebastian Road, Fort Pierce, Florida.
Michael Mazer, 636 Wayland Avenue in Kenilworth, Illinois. So, storage prices, basically in short order, storage prices have fallen in such a way where it really doesn't make economic sense to build cold, dry storage, and it would be frankly difficult to pencil climate-controlled drive-up, although if that's the only thing that would be permitted, we would ask of it. Right now, economics would really warrant for boat and RV storage. The way that boat and RV parking, I'm sorry. The way that the property is currently designed, it doesn't really allow for folks to store their boats in the existing facility. There's a number of reasons for that. One is the height of the current facility. The other is the dimensions between the buildings. It just makes it difficult to get the boats in there. The property is constantly requesting for boat storage, since this property is not very far away from the lake. And so with the pricing where it stands, it would really be a strong preference of ours to allow for outdoor parking. The other thing I would add is, if I could just go to the screen for one moment. Over here, there's a significant amount of tree cover along the path with like 20, 30 foot clear trees. And, you know, we're really looking for general feedback from the village on if something like this would be appealing, and if it's not. The rents are high enough for climate-controlled drive-up where it might make economic sense, but unfortunately not for cold, dry storage without any climatization to the buildings.
Thank you.
Questions?
I mean, that is adjacent to, I mean, that's right up against the residential area there. I mean, right across the street is the homes there. I mean, right now we get away with the storage and everything a little further back off there, but you know, this would be really shoving it in their faces right there. I know there's tree coverage there, but that's 6 months of the year.
Is reference to parking you're saying, or storage in general?
More of the boat and RV parking.
Well, and I think, yeah, I think there was, you know, part of our discussion originally when we did this, we didn't talk about outdoor parking and not outdoor parking, because that is part of the code that I think this is zoned, is that there cannot be any outdoor storage of boats and RVs.
Is the zoning the same across the street on, I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the street, the North and South Street then? So this whole parcel is part of a planned unit development, so it's really its own overlay zone.
Yeah.
So the rules applicable to your parcel here are gonna be likely different than the surrounding parcels because of that overlay. So the rules are defined by the body? They're defined by the ordinance, the planned unit developments, the ordinance that's overlaying that parcel, yes. Which is defined by this plan commission, then approved by the board, yes. Yeah, gotcha. So it's basically up to you guys whether or not, yeah, that's, not me, but the rest of the. Well, I guess to my point of question was the zoning across the street, is that PUD as well, or is that? I don't believe so. But they have obviously storage for boats outside there, right across the street.
Yeah, or, yeah.
So is that a PUD? Do we know if that's a PUD?
It's also further down the street and not in someone's front yard. So
Oh, that's on side yard, not front yard.
if you can get technical with it, that's cool.
No. That's why he was talking about, you know, the screen wall. Whether that's what's there now, or maybe tell us, hey, we need to have a screen wall that's grows to 15 feet tall, that blocks any kind of, plenty of pine trees out there that'll grow 15, 20 feet tall that will block any kind of disturbance. And the evergreens, obviously, stick green all year round.
Yeah, I think, you know, when this came to us, you know, we liked the idea of the outdoor storage because, or the storage that you did just because of the aesthetics, the look. It fit in there better, I think, personally, than boat storage in that area. We wanted to stay away from, I think we talked about staying away from that a little bit, and making everything enclosed, encompassed, indoor. There was quite a bit of discussion about that originally.
That area was an eyesore not more than 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And the plan commission, everyone has taken great steps to, and you know, and the developers and people in there have made great strides to improve that area there, and move it forward in a way of, you know, putting things in there that are harmonious with the area there. I'll state my point. I'm fine with the climate controlled storage in a building there, but I'm not in favor of the outdoor storage.
Any other comments? I feel the same way. Climate control, I have no issues with that at all. I do the outside storage, I do have a problem with that.
Understood. And so related to that, if we were to go down the path of climate controlled storage, the buildings would likely look the same as they were approved. The difference would be that there would be heating, ventilation, air conditioning in the sites. But right now, the approval just allows for dry cold storage. So this might not be appropriate, and this is just general discussion, but it's trying to understand like the timing of allowing for that change. What would that look like?
Yeah, so you have to work with staff, but what it would involve would be an amendment to the existing planned unit development overlay. So that's likely another meeting and action by this body, as well as a process for approval and public hearing before the village board. So there are two bodies that have approval authority over that. So in terms of timing, you're probably looking at 2 or 3 months if all goes well for final approval, possibly longer.
That's helpful. And then, go ahead.
I was just gonna add as staff to, screening of any mechanicals would be more likely a visual consideration, so you have to screen them somehow with, you know, our ordinance does call that out, and Mark Lyons and myself, Ben, would be happy to assist you with that, as far as those screening requirements for mechanicals. It's part of a site plan amendment process, it's part of a PUD amendment.
I think there's screening on that south side of the property anyways, kind of in the drawing set, so.
And we would consider that, and that's a discussion with staff, kind of like what attorney was saying.
And Brian, not trying to put you on the spot, but I don't know if you remember if there was any discussion about the heights of the buildings. It's a consideration for us as we think about what could be stored there.
I don't recall, I'm sure it's would be in the conditional use PUD as far as the buildings, but, you know, I think we have to be within normal code.
Yeah, I only ask because one of the issues that the property deals with today is that the doors, the distance between the buildings isn't big enough for boat storage, and then further, the doors are often not tall enough to put a boat in there. And so that's why I was wondering, as we think about how, if we're going to be going anyways for a new set of approvals, if it would make sense to request the buildings be a little taller than they were previously approved. And so it's just looking for feedback there.
I have one more question too in regards to, was there any discussion in regards to how many buildings or layout of buildings, or I'm assuming this is what was presented to the board and you just approved it as it was, or was there any other thing that?
My recollection was there was concern with the layout and the number of buildings in terms of making the driving lanes wide enough for the fire department.
Of course. Yeah,
So that sticks in my mind as one of the main discussion points.
Yeah, the reason I bring that is maybe if we did one bigger building, just spitballing here, with drive up on the outside, climate on the inside for traditional kind of indoor climate control, and climate on the outside, that might be an option we might look at as well. But maybe it's a bigger footprint of a building, so 3, maybe it's one building, you know.
Yeah, and I think if, you know, personally in my head, if you're thinking of, you know, using it as a climate control, boat storage, you know, every inch counts, right? So one building the same size as 3 buildings, you're probably gonna be able to fit more boats in.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But I think it still needs to look, it needs to look good in in that area, and then we need to make sure that it's still, you know, that it's blocked and we have the screening that we need and whatnot.
And as staff, I was just gonna direct the applicants to feel free to talk to the village administrator that could facilitate it with the village planner, that as far as what your plans are, you know, submit a site sketch with dimensions and have a discussion with the village administrator. They can share it with us, and then we can start preparing your application as you see fit and bring it back before this body. And like the attorney was saying, it would require a plan unit development amendment process.
Yeah.
But you would have to nail down the plans, and to start that, it could start off as a conceptual to the village administrator.
This is very helpful for us.
Okay, good.
Is there anything else we should be keeping in mind?
Do you have any thought on, or what customers that are calling you are asking as far as like, we want our boat in the fall, we want it in the spring, or are people looking for storage for like during the week because they're dropping their boat in every weekend? just trying to think of change in traffic pattern, right? In that area, and I don't,
I'll be able to answer that better next time we come in front of the village.
And all the traffic still goes out to Sussex then, right?
Yes, because the other way is just a fire exit, or fire entry.
What I can say, just from like anecdotal feedback, it's not very busy back there.
no.
And there are other boat parking facilities that don't seem to be very busy. Like they obviously are full, but the traffic isn't busy is what I meant to say.
Sure. Understood.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, item D is a review and discussion regarding the conditional use grant review process post 2017 Wisconsin Act 67. Matt?
All right, so this is a review that we do every so often, and looking back, it's been a couple of years since we've done so. Conditional uses, as this commission is aware, because we see them so often, are very prevalent in the village code, and they are a special creature of law in the fact that not only is it regulated by our code and allowed by our code, but we're also under some pretty strict limitations on conditional uses set forth in Wisconsin state statute. So in 2017, the legislature under Act 67 really, I mean, frankly, withdrew a lot of local government discretion to deny conditional use applications and a lot of our discretion to impose conditions on conditional use grants. So why I bring this up is every so often an application will come forward where there may be a desire, or I guess desire is the right word, a desire to take a second look at or even possibly deny a conditional use grant. And what I want to caution the commission in doing that is if the commission is inclined or going to take action to deny a conditional use, you have to be aware of the limitations that the state has put on your ability to do that. Denial has to be based on what is called substantial evidence. And it's a term that's defined in the state statute. I've set it forth here in the memo, it's in the packet. But what the takeaway from that should be is substantial evidence has to be something more than just anecdotal comments, neighbor opposition, that sort of thing. It doesn't tell us what exactly it has to be, it just tells us it has to be more than that anecdotal evidence. That substantial evidence requirement applies not only to instances where we may be denying a conditional use, but it also applies to any conditions that we attach to conditional use grants. So that's why staff is usually very thorough and very careful in going through the conditions that we recommend to this body be attached to conditional use to make sure that they're fitting within that substantial evidence requirement and related to the applications before you. Sometimes this commission, you have the authority to ask and add conditions here from the floor, and we guide you through that process, and if staff feels that it's not in compliance with Act 67, we'll let you know. But really the takeaway from this memo and this primer on this subject is we have a lot of these in our code, and when they come before you, these types of applications over anything else that comes before this body are your ability to deny them or attach conditions to them is very limited. So that's the main takeaway. Happy to answer questions. I should say this is not directed at any specific application. You take everything as it comes before you. This is just on the agenda as kind of a primer and to remind the commission.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Any questions? Okay, with that, we'll go on to citizen comments. Again, the opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with the commission members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the commission is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the commission. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers are asked to use the podium, state their names and address. Would any of you like to make a statement? Okay, and if you could state your name and your address.
Jeff Goblitz, 423 Hickory. So in regards to conditional use, at what time, with substantial proof of violation of the conditions, is action taken? And what action is taken? Because what's going on across the street on Hickory, number one, I don't know if the land got sold. If I can name names, you know, it's obviously Mr. Quest's property, at least it was, to lease to Pro Paving, which is now, took over the Amazon lot. They have now busted through the berm that was supposed to be between their property and the field. They have now made it a parking lot. None of that was okayed and not on the planning, brought before the planning commission, no matter who owns it. And it just went, and my wife, we sent letters and stuff to you folks and to the planning commissioner and planner, the village, and they said, yeah, he's in violation, but well, they just went right ahead and did everything. So at this point, it's, you know, it's there. Now what? So just it's frustrating. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so while we won't comment, my suggestion would be, again, to contact Matt, the village administrator, right here.
Yeah.
And he will fill you in on the actions that have taken place and what's going to be happening.
Okay, great.
Okay?
Thanks, Matt.
Okay. With that, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Grabowski.
Second? Got a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No one? Thank you very much. Have a good night.
What's that?